Welcome.
Wow. We are back. We are back. Jahannah, I fear that it has been far too long since the last time I saw you.
It's been a busy month. I think it's like we'll do next week, we'll do Raiders next week, and then we're quite flexy with our timetable. But what a week to do Raiders, because there's a lot of excitement on the internet right now. It is kicked off.
Yeah, quite a lot going on. I think so. Leading up to talking about the things that are going on this week, we should catch everybody up. So Jahannah and I had to reschedule 2 weeks in a row. 1 week I was not feeling well at all, and then the other week,
you lost your voice.
The other week I was with my wife, and we were house shopping on the East Coast. And so for everybody watching, Lauren, my wife Lauren, and I are moving from Texas, San Antonio, to North Carolina in May. So there's going to be a little bit of a weird time when my wife graduates from dental school, and then we've got to go move into our new house, and then I take her to Peru. So there's going to be like 30 days where I don't know if a video is going to come out, or I'm going to be able to do. We could probably fit one live stream in there, and it'll be in my new office with absolutely nothing behind me.
Unpacking all the boxes.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to. Also, I have been going through the rigors lately. It's over now, but I was speaking to the faculty and sending in transcripts and an application to the University of Athens, Greece. And I'm headed back to school in the fall. So there's a certificate program for Greek studies there, and I'm going to be doing that. It'll probably take me 18 months to finish. It'll be a fall semester, beginning in September, go through December, start again in the spring. And then in the summer, there's two options. There's either like this 18-day intensive study course under a professor going around the Greek mainland and then the Isles. Or there's a 6-week, but you have to apply to this one, and they only take 20 students, and probably the ones they take are PhD students. So I won't get in, but you can do this. You can do a 6-week excavation at the Agora, which is the marketplace of ancient Athens, and that would be super cool. But so yeah, that's what I'm up to.
So is it like part-time study, or is it going to be how many hours and stuff do you have?
Well, so it starts off. There are 2 classes that are 15 weeks, and then there are 2 other classes that are only 4 weeks. So kind of part-time. So there's a class called The City and the Theater, and it's basically a study of the history of the city itself and the importance of the Athenian theater. That one's 14 weeks. The other class is Bronze Age Greece. So the time of the heroes and the myths and Achilles, Agamemnon, the Trojan War. That's 14 weeks. But then there's 2 other classes during there. One's called Wine, the history of wine, and the other one's called the history of olive oil. And so each of those are 14 weeks. And so you got to do that. And then each semester is structured that way. Plus there's a language there. So a little bit more than part-time. But because I'm already...
And you're going to be fully qualified. You'll be officially... What will you be? What's the qualification?
I would be like a class assist, which kind of sounds like a derogatory term, but a class...
he's so classist. He's such a classist.
But a class assist is just someone who specializes in the classics.
Cool.
Typically a class assist is an expert in Greece and Rome, but I guess I would be more like an Eastern Mediterranean, because I'd be Egypt and Greece. That would be my 2 areas of expertise. So like a classical anthropologist is what I would be. So yeah, that's I'm doing that. I think the reason I wanted to do this was because, I've been in this like Atlantis sphere for like 11 years now. Not active in it, but just
immersed in it. You've been
immersed in it for like 11 years. And, eventually it dawned on me. It was when I started reading about Solon. So I was really interested in ancient Egyptian history, like you are too, and everybody is. And I wanted to know more about Solon. This is maybe 5 years ago or so. So I picked up Plutarch's Lives, where he writes about Solon, and then And then I had the complete works of Plato, and so I read about, he kind of uses Solon in his Republic, and I found that really interesting, like this mystery of this Greek guy from Athens that went to go visit Egypt, and the Egyptians knew something about Athenian history that they then relayed back to him, and that kind of ate at me, and then I ended up realizing, so much of this area of interest, well, it's actually entirely given to us from the Athenians, like from ancient Athens. They're the only reason we know about this idea of Atlantis. We don't get it from the Egyptians. The Greeks went and heard it in Egypt and brought it back to Athens, and thus it comes to us from there. And so that, I don't know, that just always intrigued me and kind of ate away at me. And then I realized that, this Western mindset that we have, this sense of who we are, the sense of freedom and identity, and just just the entire Western mindset comes to us from the Greeks, and the Greeks are our bridge. Like, you can cross this Greek Athenian bridge to get to the ancient world, and you can study Greeks as they're studying the ancient world. It's just really interesting. I don't know. It's like you can really dive into Greek history and get a better perspective of everything that was going on around them and before them as they studied it, if that makes sense. So anyways, that's why I'm
You have a lot of reading to do. Looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have actually gone back and done academic like history stuff, because I've got my degree in costume for film and theater. So I did history of history of clothes, but I didn't. But then actually, I feel like I wouldn't go back now, because I think I'd be too annoying, because I would just annoy all the professors, because they'd be trying to teach me like legitimate academic timelines, and I'd be like, but why? But are you sure? But what about? And like, yeah, they'd be like, no.
I think that they would probably love you. I think so. Well, in my experience, I've noticed that a lot of professors are very surprised. Now, this won't be the case in this certificate program I'm doing, because everyone in this is like deeply, they really love this stuff. But typically in college, I think most people that teach history of any kind are teaching to a bunch of young people that actually don't care. And when there's somebody that really cares, the professor's like caught off guard, and they're usually flattered by it. What I find is that are the more like repulsive academics are these people who are kind of out in the fringes in their own field that don't actually spend a lot of time with students. They're like in this weird research lane where they're like a hermit in their lab or in their office and don't actually interact with people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I liked history at school. I didn't like my history. I had a history teacher, and he made history quite fun because he was quite theatrical, but he had really bad coffee breath, like really bad.
That's the
And so
worst.
he'd always come around and like be looking at your work and being like, "How are you doing?" Oh, it was horrible. So, yeah, I liked his style, didn't like his breath. But going back to school is that's really cool, man. Like you don't have to. You get. I don't know what it's like in America, but in England, you go to college, university at like 18, and you get pushed really quickly to decide really quickly what you want to study. And I think majority of people probably wouldn't study what they actually study. Like I'd go back and I wouldn't pay to train in costume. I think that you're so young and it's okay to start again, but it's so expensive. Education is so expensive. So I think I would do something totally different now.
Yeah,
and it's okay. If you can go back.
It's such a scam. They're not pushing you to choose something that you're passionate about or whatever. They don't care about that. All they want you to do is take out government loans and pay for expensive classes. They don't actually care what classes it is. They don't care about you. It's just they throw you into it, and then we wonder why there's like an epidemic of depression. People are forced into doing something they don't want to do, and then they have to pay tremendous amounts of money for it. I pay every month. I pay $162 for my marketing degree that I did not need.
Like to pay it back. Yeah,
and I'm gonna do that for a while.
Yeah, I'll be paying back my student loan for the rest of eternity.
Another thing is, what the reason this is how, when we were talking about like education in the U.S. So the reason we got started down this road is Lauren was looking at where we're moving. She was looking at these nearby universities, and one of them she showed me. She was looking at like the football teams that are there. We can go watch games or whatever, just whatever's around town. And she's like, oh, look at this school. Their mascot is the Spartans, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I go and look at the university just for fun. Turns out the university was founded in North Carolina. It was the first school in North Carolina that was founded for the sole purpose of Greek studies and the translation of ancient Greek and preserving.
Well, it's meant to be. Then that's the universe going. Go on, then.
Exactly. And I was like, whoa, that's so weird. And because at the same time leading up to this, my best friend, he and I have been talking for almost a year now. He's getting more into like trying to go to church more often, but and he and I will have theological discussions about the Bible, usually about the New Testament. And he'll ask me about very specific verses, and I'll be like, well, man, you and I can sit here and talk about it all the time, but unless you and I know how to read, write, and speak ancient Greek, we're not really going to totally understand what's being said here.
So are you going to learn Greek? Is that going to be part of your?
Yeah, it's a part of it. So,
nice.
And so I had, this had been like kind of pushing me in this direction. And then all of a sudden she finds this school that's founded for the study of Greek culture. Well, anyways, I applied to the school, I reached out, I got accepted. And then I tried to appeal for in-state tuition, and they weren't going to accept that. And so the difference of in-state tuition and out-of-state, in-state was going to be $5,600 a year. Out-of-state was going to be $22,000 a year.
Okay,
and so
you're moving there 100%.
Yeah. So I told them, like, hey, I'm moving there. My wife's got a contract to work in this town. I sent them the contract. They didn't care at all. They want my money. They don't care the fact that I'm interested in ancient Greece or whatever. So I was very disappointed. And I was looking up any other opportunity. I was just so set on this and hopeful for it. So anyways, ended up finding out there's a continuing education certificate that's offered by the University of Athens itself. And over the course of 18 to 24 months, the cost of this is only $5,500 USD compared to like $44,000 that some
crazy. And you're getting it from you're learning it from the source, Greek from literal Athens University.
So for anybody watching, school is mostly a scam. Mostly it's a scam. Unless you're hell-bent on, basically all it does is that is, unless you're like my wife, you actually have to go to school to learn those skills to operate on people. But for the most part, unless you have identified that the doors that are unlocked by going to school is actually worth it for you, it's kind of a scam. And your skill level these days is definitely worth more than a degree.
Yeah, it's completely changed. When I was younger, it was like, you have to get a degree to be anything. And all the movies were like about kids going to college and not going to college. Now it's no. And also, if you're going to have an academic career, then obviously, but if not, like I've met so many amazing people like on tours or, in this community who love ancient history or ancient law or science or mechanics or whatever. And so many people are sort of like self-studied, self-taught. They just physically dive in and do it. And I've got so much respect for people who have found, there's a guy actually, as an example of this, and then we'll move on. There's a guy in England who he was studying, I think it was Stone Age. There was a tablet that had these like markings on, and nobody knew what it was. And he decided to like cross-reference them. And he was studying and studying. And then he came to the museum and was like, I have a theory. I think I know what the markings are. And I think that they're marking the months of like fertility and like kind of the cycles of anyway. And then so people looked into it and nobody had thought of it. And then the guy was like 100% right. And then and I remember seeing that and being like, good on you, Mr. At Home with Your Passion Project. And he just looked at it with his eye and was like, I looked at the markings. And it turns out to be like the first time that we have recorded evidence in this part of the world of ancient people like marking, kind of counting, and the markings meaning something more than like they weren't just like pretty dots or decoration. They were representing real numbers, and there was like a system. There was a system of counting the seasons and fertility and everything.
Yeah,
very cool.
Very cool.
Talking of fertility, what a segue. What can I say? It just happens. So my news, so you're moving house, which is fantastic news. I'm staying in the same house. I'm just adding someone to my house because I'm going to have a baby this summer. So that's happening. And I thought, yeah, I better announce it soon. Thank you very much. Actually, you can see behind me. I'm ready.
Oh, wow.
There's the bassinet waiting. Yes, little baby Indy. Indy'd be a cool name. But yeah, I'm having a baby in August. And it's one of the reasons why I've been slightly missing in action the last 3 months, because I've been so ill. And I'm just coming out of this cloud of illness just in time for everything to kick off with all of the like fun Egypt news and everything. So because before I wasn't able to, I felt so sick I couldn't like read or be on camera at all. So yeah, I got a little baby traveler that's gonna be coming with me. Toddler temple run.
I love that. Well, congratulations. I'm very happy for you. You're gonna be like the best, most fun mom that any kid could have.
Yeah. Well, it was funny how as well, because I told you, because you were in Egypt at the time, and you were messaging me saying, "Oh, actually, I don't feel very well in Egypt." Like it finally had caught up to you, because I always every time I go to Egypt, I get so ill, and I'd warned you, and I'm like, "You're gonna get ill in Egypt," and then you're like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling very well," and I was like, "Me too," but that's because I'm pregnant.
I remember. You go. It was something. You were like me too. ... Because I'm pregnant, and it was a photo.
And I showed you the photo. I was like,
yeah. That's so funny. And you said I solved the mystery of the handbags. And at first I was looking at it, I was like, what is this? And then I realized it was a human.
Yeah, because my first scan that I went to at like 6 weeks, it doesn't really look like a baby yet. It just looks like a little bean. But mine one, so you've got the baby, and then you've got the kind of it's called a yolk sack. But anyway, it looked like a handbag. That they gave me a photo, funny. And it literally looked like one of those ancient. It's on my, if anyone wants to see it, it's on my Instagram. I posted a picture on my Instagram, but it's literally like a little handbag. So that's how I told most people. I'd send them the picture and be like, "Hey, I've solved what those ancient handbags were." Turns out it's my baby.
That's so funny.
So there we are. That's my news, which is nearly as exciting as the random news that has popped up this week
yes.
in Egypt.
I need you to fill me in on this, because in the midst of moving and being all over the place, I have no idea what's going on with the pyramids right now. I need you to fill me in.
Yeah, okay, I will fill you in. And also, I've got some updates for everybody watching. Literally just 5 minutes before we went live, I got an email from Christopher Dunn on his official site. I haven't even read it yet myself, but I can read it with all you guys. But so what happened? Let's just roll it back. Is a couple of days ago, I got an Instagram message, and a follower sent me a link to a YouTube video that had just come out, and they were like, "Hey, is this true? Is there structures underneath the pyramid?" And I was like, what is this? So I looked at the link, but then I looked at the video on YouTube, and I was like, where are they getting this information from? Because I can't. And I kind of Googled it, nothing came up. Eventually I followed it through, and what I could guess was that there was a press release of an announcement of some data that was going to be announced. So it was a bit of a like Chinese whispers of like apparently some Italian scientists had used SAR scanning, like a satellite scanning system, which is legit technology, and it's been used in other fields, not really archaeology. So it's been used successfully in sort of like agriculture and things like that.
Okay.
But apparently there is a scientist who has developed new software, and he's saying that you can use this software to then transfer this like legit technology into scanning. And apparently you can use satellites, so it's non-invasive, and you can kind of scan deeper than you previously thought you could. But all his like methodology, like how he kind of got the software and how to use the software, that he was announcing that he was going to explain it all in this conference that was happening in Italy. Now, unfortunately, all of the scientists are Italian and they don't speak English. So there is like there is a communication block between the world, unless you speak Italian. But there is a guy called Trevor Grassi who has a YouTube channel called @TrevorGrassi, and he was the guy that he knew some of the Italian team. I think he's been following their work, and they sent him a copy of the abstract summary of the press release. So none of the press were picking it up. Just Trevor Grassi put it on his Facebook because he was excited. He got full permission to share it with the team. The team were like, yeah, announce that we are going to be sharing this soon with the world. I don't think the team expected that it was going to hit the world quite so quick. So I very quickly just made a TikTok because I thought, oh, this is cool. There's news that something's going to be announced soon. So I made the TikTok, and then that kind of shot off. And then very quickly, within 48 hours, it's already on Joe Rogan. Like the actual news stations are starting to pick it up now. Everyone's fighting. You've got really angry academics. Zahi Hawass has officially just done a announcement saying that it's completely a load of rubbish. They have no permission to scan the pyramids. But the problem is that you don't need permission to scan from a satellite. So if this technology is, and this software using the technology is viable, and you can kind of scan anywhere that a satellite crosses, it's going to be interesting to see what the implications of that are, like globally, because you don't really,
I know, right?
We're
getting into a weird place.
We have land laws where you have to permission to go and put scanners on the ground, but if you don't need to put anything on the ground, like this pyramid scanning team that have been doing it since 2016 in and around the Great Pyramid, they had to get all the permissions. You have to do it in line and with affiliation with Egypt's officials, which is very hard to do, to get anything past the Egyptian officials. It's like take 20 years, a lot of money and a lot of time. So that's going to be really interesting to see if everyone's going to start going, well, you need permission to scan my air.
Well, that's something like that's definitely coming. Man, I bet you the Egyptian officials are absolutely pissed about this.
So they're very much so. So what happened like in 2008, with the Khafra Pyramid scans, there was a similar situation where a team got legit funding and they got permission from Egypt to go and scan all around the Khafra Pyramid, where the labyrinth of Herodotus said that he visited the labyrinth historically. So we've got like historical evidence that it was there, but right now it's all hidden under sand and a water table. Anyway, so they did like scans, and they came back with LiDAR. I believe it was LiDAR and ground penetrating radar scans that showed structures underneath the Khafra Pyramid, and what they thought they had like legitimate evidence of the labyrinth. And then they wanted to like publicize the information, and I think the Egyptian like antiquities, the authorities didn't want to announce it, or they wanted to make sure that Zahi likes to announce everything first himself, and there was a bit of contention, and they basically blocked the team from releasing the results until they wanted to do it on their timeline. And then they actually, I think the Khafra team did do something like maybe they jumped the gun. I'm not entirely sure on the timeline, but they basically got slapped with like a legal injunction being like, you cannot talk about your findings. And then everything, because they announced that it was all going to be, a paper was going to come out, and then it all kind of just fizzled away. And then it was only after like 10 years after that the Khafra team decided, no, stuff it, we are going to release our findings. So they've released the findings, but not in conjunction with the Egyptian authorities, and it's all a bit so we do know that there's a history of the Egyptian authorities slapping injunctions, not wanting things unless they are 100% on top of it, at the forefront of it, etc., etc. I'm not saying this has happened with they have nothing to do with the SAR scanning. But it's interesting. But also there is a loads of misinformation, because I can see what in the abstract is a very small amount of information, which is essentially this. They've used some software, they've scanned in and around the Khafra Pyramid, not the Great Pyramid. There's confusion about which pyramid it is. It's the middle one, the one that's built literally into the bedrock, part of the base of the pyramid. And I think like the first 2 levels on one side is bedrock. I love the middle pyramid. I think I like it more than the Great Pyramid. But so it's the Khafra Pyramid, and there's a big confusion because the team released a paper in 2022 that was all about scanning the Great Pyramid. So there's a big confusion about which pyramid they're talking about, whether there's 2 papers, one that's yet to come out and one that has come out. I saw an academic review the original paper saying that the SAR technology is legit, but there are errors in that paper. Like they claim that the Great Pyramid is built in the majority of granite, so they've got some fundamental things wrong.
Yeah.
So it was kind of and then also what complicates everything is that part of the team, the scientists leading this team, some of them have some very, very strong alternative theories, and that I fear is endangering a lot of getting any genuine science over the line, because if you caveat maybe some genuine data, but you caveat it with something that's super alternative, like aliens or lost civilizations, I think you're going to do more damage. So I'm praying that when they do release this paper, that it's going to be a solely scientific data paper, and that they're not going to try and caveat at this point. Once that data's got over the line, if you can prove that the technology works, and I think how they're going to prove it, when I spoke to Trevor, he was like, well, if you can prove that the SAR satellite scans can, for example, scan the Osiris shaft, and if the scan data shows the Osiris shaft in complete configuration that we know it is, so that you can like confirm, so that I think it'll be quite easy to test whether or not you can scan and how far down. There's also a lot of confusion about how deep this thing goes. So there's what they are essentially saying is that they found 5 chambers, unknown chambers inside the Khafra Pyramid, and the chamber shapes look to be the same shape as the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. So that 6 blocks of granite with a vaulted ceiling, but there's 5 of them. That's what they're interpreting these scans as. And then underneath the 5 vaulted chambers are 8 hollow cylindrical, like well shafts. Some people call them pillars. The team are saying that they're definitely hollow, and they have sort of spiral, maybe passageways or walkways or some sort of spiraling around these well shafts, and the well shafts go down for 648 meters, and then the pillars are apparently aligned north to south perfectly, and they're perfectly, like, they're not random pillars. They are there's 8 of them, and they're in pairs, and they've got 4 north facing, 4 south facing, and each of the 4 pillars, 2 sets of 4, go into hollow chamber of 80 meter by 80 meter, like kind of 80 meter cubes, and that's hollow. And then they're saying that they need more research into this, but they think that they can see a network of like underground tunnels, very similar to like Derinkuyu in Turkey. But they're saying, and this is what I need to clarify, I'm not sure whether they're saying there's 2 kilometers of tunnels, because that is very possible, because there's 2 kilometers of tunnels in Derinkuyu. Or are they trying to say that the network of tunnels is 2 kilometers below the surface? I don't believe that would be possible.
Yeah, that's way too deep.
But again, we're dealing with an English translation
of
an Italian original summary. And I think that things like that can be lost because it makes such a difference whether or not are you talking about 2 kilometers of tunnel system or are you talking about 2 kilometers below the Earth's surface. So again, I'm just holding loads of space because we don't know yet. We can't you can't like fully say for sure, oh, that's a load of crap. I'm not a SAR scan expert. So I definitely don't know what this new software that this guy is saying he's used to turn this legitimate technology into something else. So I'm waiting for them to do what they say they're going to do and fulfill the announcement. And until then, we all just have to kind of wait. But we don't have to wait long because I think in about an hour's time, over on a YouTube channel called Expedition, Nicole, what's that second name? I think it's like Cicelo. I put a link in my previous YouTube video. I've put a link to the new video, and we might put it in the description here. The Italian team they're posting another video from the conference that happened last week. Apparently, them sitting down and explaining the technology and the scanning software and things. So more information is going to be coming out. But I've seen all kinds of people reporting that there are like 2 kilometer columns going down into the earth, and I'm like, no, that's not what was said. And yeah, so it's interesting. Where I sit on it is that the Giza plateau is infested with shafts.
Yeah.
And we know that like the Osiris shaft goes down 125 foot. And we know that the Osiris shaft doesn't just end. Not the Osiris shaft. Yeah, the Osiris shaft. The Osiris shaft doesn't end there. That there are tunnels that go along the causeway. Yeah, and there are it is a rat run. There is a reason why there are so many locked gated entrances to go the Giza plateau. There's these iron bars and gates everywhere because it's dangerous, because shafts just drop. They drop. You can drop like a rock down and it just disappears. You can't see where it lands. So to me, it makes complete sense that there would be and could be things under there that we just have not yet found.
Oh, and there absolutely are. I mean, I was I was under the I was in the subterranean chamber under the Great Pyramid on our last night in Egypt, and I was crawling through that. I was crawling through, the subterranean chamber, and then there's that little grate that you can push off to the side, and you can go in that little 2 foot by 2 foot hole, and it goes 150 feet off to the west. I crawled all the way back at the end of that, and I was laying there thinking, like, it's so weird that I'm down here underneath the Great Pyramid, hundreds of feet below the ground. And I was thinking, where the heck did they anticipate this shaft to go? If they were making this to connect to something clearly or to lead off to somewhere, there has to be so much more like this all around the Giza Plateau. And that there is when you're walking around. When you walk off to that, why am I thinking of, is it, man, it begins with a K. His name begins with Kepchef something. It's the pyramid that's way off on the other side of the desert near the Mahdi outcrop. And you can walk over there, and it's this big valley that has all these grates and rusted metal bars covering up all the tombs and shafts. And the name is escaping me right now. But they think that it was a tomb of some later pharaoh who buried himself there. But I was just thinking, man, there's just so much that whole Giza plateau is just this vast, intricate network of shafts and tunnels that go underneath the ground that date from thousands and thousands of years of people, carving into that bedrock. I answered a question the other day on a Q&A. Somebody asked me what I thought the likelihood of there being something underneath the Sphinx. And I was like, well, the Hall of Records thing, the Edgar Casey Hall of Records thing, I was like, I can't give anybody any guarantee to that. But is it very possible that there is some kind of tunnel, something underneath the Sphinx? Yeah, probably, because the entire Giza plateau is covered with tunnels.
Yeah. Like, it would be weirder.
It's probably more the Giza plateau. Sorry, yeah. The Giza plateau is probably more hollow than it is solid. That's how many tunnels 100%. There are around Giza.
And I remember on a tour in Egypt, we learned that that just in front of the Sphinx, when they were drilling down to find the water table. So this was more recent. They drilled right down. I want to try and guess what it was. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was 16 meters, not feet, because 16 feet is not very long. But they drilled down to find the water table, because under the Sphinx, the water table is rising and there's going to be long-term issues there. And they hit granite. And when they were drilling down through the bedrock, and they hit granite, and they were like, what is granite doing 16 meters down there? And it was kind of excused away by saying, oh, well, that used to be like a dock, because it's true, there was like a kind of dock right up to the Sphinx at some point in antiquity. And they were saying that, oh, well, when they moved the granite block to the plateau, they must have dropped one into the water, and it's just sort of gone down in the sediment. 16 meters is a long way down. But yeah, so there is granite down under there, and they smashed into it when they were drilling the water table, checking the water table. So we know that there's granite 16 meters down under there, whether it's a sedimented piece of something that's fallen off when they did the Valley Temple, or they've hit the top of some granite thing. We know that they used granite within a lot of their structures, like within the chambers of the pyramid chambers, the granite walls. We know that where else is the granite? The granite's used, well, to case the outside of temples. We know that the Hawara pyramid, that's what they believe that they were finding underneath the whole water table at Hawara. They were finding like solid granite. On the LiDAR scan. So, okay, so that's one thing. So I've got that. Obviously, we've got all of the like local legend and the local lore about kids saying that they remember running into tunnels and it going for a long time. The legend that there are tunnels that connect the Giza plateau to Saqqara, and you can run back. Back in the day, you could run back and forth. So, like, in a way, the fact that scans are showing that there's something going on under the pyramid, like, it's not that wild, because also we know that the pyramid scanning project, like, is everyone just forgetting that they just found a void in the Great Pyramid the size of a jumbo jet? And like, so if you, it's like that's been like confirmed by the Egyptian authorities, because they were allowed to be at the forefront and announce that one and be all over
I gotta tell you something.
Go on.
Okay. So when I was in Egypt, I was spending some time with this young Egyptologist, really cool guy, probably in his early 30s or so. He said that his goal is to one day have Zahi's position and do things differently in Egypt. I'm not going to say his name.
Go on,
but really cool guy, very open-minded. He's not into like the lost 12,000-year-old civilization thing, but he's very open-minded about, oh yeah, it really is interesting how these things were done and we can't explain it. He's more, I guess he's more open to hearing about lost technology, lost tools, techniques, that kind of thing. Really cool guy. And so I was talking to him about the pyramid voids, and I was asking him, we were talking about, what do you think is going to be found in it? And I was asking him, when are they actually going to send a camera up there and scan these things? And he said that not only is there the two chambers that were discovered in the Great Pyramid, the one that's above the entryway, and then there's the other one that's kind of like a duplicate Grand Gallery, they think.
Yeah, it could be a mirror image Grand Gallery, yeah.
And he said there are other voids in the other pyramids that have been found as well. And he pulls out his phone, and I'm standing on a felucca with him at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and he pulls out his phone and he shows me a picture of the inside of a chamber I've never seen before, and he goes, "Look at that." And I went,
"Wait, like a photograph or like a scan?"
No, a photo. And he goes, "Look at that." And I was like, "What pyramid is that at?" And he goes, "It's at Giza." And I said,
that narrows it down. Great.
Yeah. And I was like, I said, "Really? When did this happen?" And he's like, "Recently." And he wouldn't say anything more than that. But there are photos of scans that exist, or I'm sorry, there are photos that have already been taken
of interiors,
and some of these things have already been done. I asked him, I said, why, why does this happen? Why does this take so long? Do you remember the news about the tunnels under Sacsayhuaman that came out in Peru recently?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody watching, I was inside of those tunnels in September. The news just came out about this, and it blew my mind. And so I was asking the guy, I was like, why did these things take so long? And he said, well, in Egypt, they have a media and marketing department, and it's all planned out.
Oh,
And
100%.
he's like, it's planned 2 years out. It's all about tourism, getting people to come into Egypt. So he said, we don't want to knock too many things out at once, because if you spill all the cards at once, you only get that one influx of tourism that will come within the next year to see the new discoveries. So what he was like, there's no real delay on discoveries being made. It's delay on the release of information. And he said, so a lot of the stuff has already been done. He said some of it gets done in the middle of the night or early in the morning before anybody shows up. He said, but it's all about the marketing, and Zahi Hawass is deeply, tied into that. He makes a ton of money on, on book sales and whatever TV stuff. So, anyways, yes, it blew my mind that, but you kind of know it, but it just blew my mind when I saw a photo for the first time that I still have never seen. When this photo comes out one day,
Yeah.
I'll tell you
You'll
guys.
be like 89 and you'll be like, I saw that back in the day.
I saw that photo back in the early 20s.
But yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that there are things that they're sitting on, because I remember when I first went to Egypt in 2020, and we went into the Great Pyramid, and all of the Japanese and Swedish, and all the kit was there for the scannings, and at that point we were hearing rumors about things being found and whatnot, and then it wasn't until years later that they did the press announcement, and I was like, also, I know that that's only a smidgen of what they actually found, but of course they're gonna stagger it, and I kind of don't blame them from like from an economic point of view, because 90% of Egypt is run on tourism, and so they need to extend that for as long as possible. So I get it from a business side, but it's really annoying.
Yeah, I think it's so true that you say that. I think that's something those of us who love this kind of have to have a little bit of sympathy, though, because it is us. It's everybody here watching. It's our tourist dollars that allow Egyptology to continue. So they have to take the most strategic approach. That's not to say that the people who run these organizations, like exactly the same kind of people in the US that run these organizations, are the most, morally straight up, good people. But, I don't really know what an alternative is for them. If they release it all out there, they'll get a huge influx of tourism in 1 year. But then 24 months from now, they're like sitting on their hands and wishing, oh man, what if we had waited till now to release it? Then we'd get all new tours. They're just trying to keep their country afloat. And I should say that it's a wonderful thing that Egypt is so closely tied to the Western world, because it keeps Egypt as a safe place to travel to. So, otherwise, like, we want to keep Egypt in alliance with the UK and with the United States. The United States, I think the number one country that we donate to is Egypt. So we have to have some kind of sympathy there for like why they plan things the way they do. But it is frustrating that things are pushed off so far, so.
I'm just like quickly looking through the Chris Dunn email about his like official, what he's sort of saying. He said he's not qualified to judge any of the findings, which is fair. Like, nobody is, apart from SAR experts. And even then, they're saying this Filippo Giandi guy is saying that it's like a new software of using that technology. So until he can fully explain what his methodology is, it's very difficult to categorically say yes or no. Similarly, I'm not qualified to find the findings of the SAR scanning team. However, I'd love to know how geometrically accurate the CAD drawings are, because the 3D imagery that they're like making interpretations out of the raw scan data, which look like very drunk photos. And then, however, I'd love to, yes, because they seem to represent a massive Tesla-like electromagnetic earthquake machine. This is Christopher Dunn's official thing of this. But even without the CAD, I believe there's enough in the scans to warrant further investigation, which is true. The original scan imagery is very like, I can't really see anything. However, then the team then reposted a new image that was not on the original abstract, which showed sort of more clearly this idea of these 8 pillars. You can actually see like 8 pillars, and I'm not a scan expert, but I think that the color scheme going from like blue to green to red, I believe that like red is like hollowness. I'm just speculating, I don't know. But okay, so Christopher Dunn thinks that the idea of these like a coiled hollow structures is like a Tesla-like electromagnetic. I'd like to attach a caveat to my enthusiasm of the work of the SAR research team and the imagination it has sparked. That's put very well, because that's why it's fun. I think anybody right now who's really like calling BS on it, I'm like, come on, like have some fun with it. The imagination of this is so fun and wild, and that's why I love it. I love the what if, and I'm not like really emotionally or academically attached to the outcome of this, so I'm just excited about what it is, and any eyes on Egypt and history and like getting the debate up is positive for me.
I think that's the thing I love about you is that you're not emotionally attached to the outcome of any of this. You just find it interesting and worth talking about.
And if I'm wrong, like it doesn't damage my ego in any way. Like I will happily make another video and be like, I've done that before actually, where there was some sort of satellite scan imagery that I saw in a documentary for Atlantis about the Rikat structure. So I made a TikTok about it. And then I immediately, when I like double checked my research, it turns out that the images that were shown in the documentary were actually Google images. They weren't the scan. So I'm happy to go, whoops, whoopsie daisy. Sorry to excite you all. I got that wrong. So just more people need to get better at, putting their hand up and being like, no, that didn't turn out to be quite what we thought, and that's fine. So Christopher Dunn's saying he'd like to caveat it. We must keep in mind that considering what he wrote in his book, he has confirmation bias. Cool. And there should always be an amount of healthy skepticism with anything seems so firmly embedded in the realm of science fiction to ancient monuments. Well done, Chris. We're living in exciting times. If it turns out to be fictional, it's more compelling and interesting fiction than the pyramids as tombs theory, which I agree with. Like, and if it's proven to be fact, then we could be on the threshold of a bright and harmonious future. And then he quotes someone called Charles Holland in 1902. He was the United States Commissioner of Patents until 1901. And he said, in my opinion, all previous advances in the various lines of invention will appear totally insignificant when compared to those which the present century will witness. I almost wish that I might live my life over again to see the wonders that are at the threshold. The pyramids are mystical and magical. They've inspired generations of travelers and deeply affect the visitors who have the privilege of gaining entry to them, myself included. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. He's done some links to things. Cool. And because I think in his book, what he's saying is that there was a component they were talking about pulse generators in the theorization of energy, something being energy. Anyway, he's just saying that ironically, in his book, he said that the deeper that you can penetrate into the indigenous rock, the more powerful a generator would be. So he's saying, like, if it's true that there's these things are 600 meters thing, it would make sense to the theory of it being I'm just scanning Christopher Dunn's thing. I'll read that again properly later, but that's cool. And then we've got on the opposite thing, we've got Zahi Hawass, who is saying absolutely not, it's all crap, the technology doesn't work. He's not across it. They don't have permission.
I need a boo. We need a boo sound effect for the show.
Zahi Hawass. It's interesting. I wonder if they'd gone to Zahi Hawass with the findings and said, you can announce You can verify this and you can announce this.
Mm.
I wonder if he'd be so quick to be like, maybe.
No, he
maybe
was quick to jump in that YouTube video with Mr. Beast. So as
okay.
long as you pay him enough, he'd be down to do it.
I find it weird because he's not the Minister of Antiquities anymore,
He's
right?
not.
Because he got sacked from that job because he literally stole and sold black market antiquities, I believe,
Yeah.
allegedly.
I think the reality is the reason he's still in the position that they're in is because all those guys are involved in that. So, they're kind of like, Zahi, don't do that, and
Yeah.
so we're going to remove you from your position, but you're still going to have your position. Not
Yeah.
technically.
He's
That's
been putting
where
it on the naughty step.
yeah. So a lot of that is going on in Egypt. So much of that. It's sad.
So that's that's really interesting. So I think somebody also put in the comments, they said that Trevor said that yes, it's not 2 kilometers down, it's 2 kilometers worth of,
Okay.
which makes
like
more sense.
volume or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like 2 kilometer network of
Mhm.
tunnel systems, not 2 kilometers down into the earth, because I mean, I don't wonder how deep Darren Kuru is, but and also there's a theory separate before all this came out. There was Matt Simpson, who does Ancient Architects YouTube channel. He did a video looking at the very real possibility that the Madai people, who were indigenous to the area around Giza before the official dynastic Egyptians, that he believed there's a really good argument that they are the ones that dug the subterranean chamber, and that there's like a thing called the grotto in the Great Pyramid, which is like a weird well shaft that goes into a grotto, and basically there's evidence like it matches like archaeologically. These Madai people used to have a tradition of digging into bedrock, and they would create these like kind of grottos. And so he had a really good there's a really good argument that all of the subterranean stuff on the Giza plateau is pre-dynastic, and then there's a reason why the pyramids were then built on top of these like underground established things. So that was interesting.
That's really interesting. I was in Egypt with a different Egyptologist, and I was asking him. I was saying, I don't know where we got talking about this. It wasn't because of scans. It was, I can't remember, but I was saying, there's shaft tombs all over Giza. And I was saying, what is the likelihood? I mean, think about the vast area that these pyramids take up. What's the likelihood that these guys had to build on top of other shafts that lead somewhere and have contents in them, but are blocked off because of the base of the pyramid sits on top of the opening? And they were like, no, that's not that's not the case. They wouldn't have done that. I'm like, why? What do you mean why? It's like, what do you mean no? Why would that not be possible? There's holes in the ground across this whole plateau. You don't think there's some tombs or shafts that are being covered up by this pyramid that are inaccessible? And if you were to dig down and over, or somehow scan over, you would, I feel like you would almost certainly see things. And the most boring answer to all of this could, just from my perspective, could just be, which isn't, it's still pretty cool. The most boring answer to all this is that there could be tombs that are sealed off because the pyramid covered up its entrance. But if those are in there, then everything that was in there is perfectly preserved just the way it was thousands of years ago. That's the most boring answer. Everything other than that is even cooler. So I hope that something comes from this,
Well, now they've made some pretty big claims, and so they're going to need some pretty big proof. I would not want to be in these guys' positions. Again, just to repeat, they are announcing on the Expedition YouTube channel, probably now, it's going live. I think it's either another clip or maybe the whole clip of the conference that was, and just to also clarify that the whole conference wasn't about the Khafra scanning pyramid project. It was one part of the rest of it, because I think the whole conference encapsulated other things, because it was all about being temporal gateway, which isn't to do with the Khafra scanning pyramid directly. So that a lot of people saw this like really dodgy graphic on the conference thing and were like, oh, it's a load of nonsense. But I think don't be so quick. They need to be very careful with their graphics moving forward, because you don't want temporal gateway AI graphics on if you're trying to talk about legit science. But yeah, I mean, 648 meters is very deep. How deep is Derinkuyu? I'm going to quickly Google that. How deep is Derinkuyu, Turkey? Let's see what that says. Located, extends, okay, 85 meters. So 600 is, that's a lot deeper than Derinkuyu. So that is that's quite a stretch. The city reaches the depth of about 85 meters.
Considerably deeper than the pyramids themselves.
Yeah. And that was, I only went 4 levels down in Derinkuyu. I know that 8 are open and then it extends more. Derinkuyu was horrible. Oh, really? I know that if there are a network of tunnels under the Giza, I'm not going in them because I have claustrophobia. I'll send my kid in. She'll be mini size. She can make it through.
You would have hated that western shaft below the Great Pyramid. And that was probably, I think that was probably in all the jungles and things that I've been to and all the weird holes I've jumped down into, I think that one was the most surreal, that I was in this tiny little hole underneath the Great Pyramid, underneath the plateau, you know, at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Just, yeah, it was bizarre place to be. So, well, guys, I think Jahannah and I, we're actually going to bounce and watch this live that's going on. We're gonna answer a couple of these comments here. And Jahannah, if you, maybe it would be good if you were able to at some point leave a link to this live we're going to watch in the comment section.
Yeah, so I'm going to link it now. When we finish, I'll put it in the description of this video, so you can go through the Expedition YouTube channel and we can all watch whatever unfold.
So we got Dragon Truth here. Tartaria, Old World Tech, JT Follows JC collaboration. Do you know who JT Follows JC is? Have you ever seen him before?
Maybe. I'm really crap with names. Maybe I'd recognize visually the person.
I know who he is. He's a cool guy, a friend of mine. We haven't talked in a while, but yeah, I want to do something with him one day. I don't subscribe to the Tartaria thing. I don't know a whole lot about it. But yeah, cool guy. All right, you want to take this one?
Gabriel, 20 euros. Thank you, man. Vedic astrologer Bibu Dev Misra said that the Kali Yuga, which is said to be the material age, just ended on the 21st of March, spring equinox, coincidentally. That would shift us into the Dwapara Yuga, the energy age. Coincidence? I mean, that is mad, because it was the 21st of March. That's, I think, that's when it all kind of got released into the ether and the world exploded and everybody went to war. But that's interesting. So we've like shifted into a different age. Well, we are shifting as well into the age of this is the dawn of the age of Aquarius.
Is it the age of Aquarius?
Yeah, we're shifting into it. Like, maybe not right now, but like over the next few hundred years, we 100% are. I mean, yeah, maybe not. There's something in the air. Well, one thing that we've definitely found out for sure is that there is now, maybe not, it wouldn't have been the same 10 years ago. There is now a huge amount of people and audience who are willing to investigate this, who want to know, who are willing to, go out there, get digging, invest in this, Kickstarters. Like people want to know, whereas before I don't think people were too bothered. But now I think more and more people are getting really excited. So I'm excited that people are excited, because that was the whole point of doing my channel. I just wanted to like signpost and connect with other people that are really into this stuff, and then more and more people joining the fray. So yeah, thank you, Gabriel, for the 20 euros.
Are you guys involved with Cosmic Summit this year?
No, I can't make it to Cosmic. One, because I'm pregnant. So I actually hit the no-fly zone in June because I'm due in August. So I can't make it to North Carolina this year. Hopefully next year that's going to align. I'm also I happen to be a bridesmaid for one of my best friends, and she picked her wedding day as Cosmic Summit, and so I'd already actually bowed out of Cosmic for that, and then found out I was pregnant. So for 2 reasons, I've got to go be a pregnant bridesmaid. So yeah.
Yeah. And so like I was saying earlier, I will have just moved to North Carolina, getting my life
doing
together.
a big life shift.
And Lauren and I may still be in Peru during Cosmic Summit. So I didn't want to commit. I had so much going on this summer. So anyways, yeah, not this year, possibly next year.
Yeah.
I think maybe Jahannah and I will be back next year.
Yeah.
Be good to take a year off and come back again.
Yeah, it's still 100% happening, and they've got some really cool lineup this year. I know that they have like Dunking Dan, and they've got.
I'm really looking forward to hearing how Matt Bell does.
Yeah, there's like they've got a big line of. I know that like Hugh Newman and JJ are coming. Yeah, like there's some incredible lineup. So I'm going to be watching at home because the cool thing about Cosmic is that you can go there in person, which is awesome, but you can also watch on a live stream for like $20-$50, however much it is. I don't remember, but you get everybody's talk and you get it to download and watch in your own time, or you can watch the live feed as it's happening. So I'll do that. I'll just be at home eating and being massive.
Next time we talk, we'll have to do. I guess you and I haven't talked about it that much, but I have my own kind of developed theory on the vases now. I've kind of got it all mapped out. It's taken me a little bit more than a year.
Nice.
But in the morning, I fly to Tampa to meet up with Danny Jones and Matt Bell, and we're doing a few podcasts to talk about it. So, but maybe the next time we get on, I don't think those will have gone live, so we'll talk about it.
We've got the vases to talk about. I was just getting really like deeply interested again in the shroud and the Turin. I love in like ancient.
Oh, we got to do the shroud. We have to do that.
Shroud was amazing. So yeah, we've got lots of cool episodes of Raiders coming up. John Morell, thank you. I've have such a hard time accepting this is all man-made. And then when you dropped that video last week, and it totally blew my mind even further. Oh, you mean that the pyramids are man-made? You have a hard time accepting that? Well, they ain't natural.
Well, I'm totally on Team Humanity.
I'm on Team Humanity. I think all the evidence says that Team Humanity. Until we get solid proof otherwise, let's give it to Team Humans. Come on, we can do some things right. You know, it's amazing.
But the fact that these people, so whether or not, I say this all the time, whether or not the pyramids were made 4,600 years ago or 12,000 years ago, at both time frames, they are happening at the beginning of time. They're happening even 4,600 years ago is the beginning of known history. Okay. It's the beginning of established civilization. So people at the very beginning of time, no matter which way you put it, are achieving something that is so great that it has never been surpassed in all of human history. And almost 5,000 years later, it's hard to accept that it was man-made. That's how incredible.
Couldn't be, we can all agree, couldn't be replicated today. The pyramids and their tunnel systems and everything about them, and the structures and the measurements and the maths involved and all of the encoded science involved and the golden ratios and the speed of light and everything that's encoded in it, like, mate, very clever, intelligent, amazing, source connected humans were doing stuff. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, last one. I just thought that this was interesting. So Lynn Grange said, I believe it was the ancient Egyptians. Then their civilization collapsed and another one rose up. Well, you know what's very interesting about this is that you're also, no matter which timeline you put it in, you're actually right. Because if you're saying it was 12,000 years ago, Well, then 12,000 years ago, there was nobody but the Egyptians living in Egypt. It's the same people that the dynastic Egyptians
were
descended from. They were also still living in Egypt 12,000 years ago. So yes, if you're saying 12,000 years ago they collapsed and another one rose up, you're right. Also, if it happened during the Old Kingdom collapses. That civilization is gone. By the time the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom come back, there's hundreds of years of chaos and the government just literally not existing anymore. There's no pharaohs, there's no monarchy, there's no nothing. Egypt is being ruled by foreigners, and then a new civilization rises up and tries to adopt and reinterpret the ways of the old civilization. So no matter which way you put it, you're actually right, because the ancient Egyptians could be the Old Kingdom, which fall apart and is appropriated and inherited later. So I find those little things to be very interesting. So next time, Jahannah, that you and I get together, we'll do maybe a little bit of Shroud, a little bit of Vases. So, and maybe there'll be an update on what's going on with the pyramids.
I mean, yeah, I think that there's a fast scramble now to prove and disprove and defend. It's like this is like WWE match in the ancient history world. It's like, let's get ready to rumble. We got Zyra Moss coming in. Like, I'm enjoying it. Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you back on Raiders. We're bad at announcing them, but they are Sunday nights. Sometimes Monday. No, when do we do it?
I don't know, but there's a lot of people on right now, so Sundays might be a better day.
Sundays might be a better day. You used to do Mondays. Maybe we'll move to the holy day. But yeah, okay. And I will throw the link as soon as this ends. I'm going to throw the link to the Italian scientists at the conference, so we can follow along. I don't think it's in English, so we're going to have to follow along with YouTube translation.
Yeah.
But more information is going to be coming out. Okay. All right. Well, have a good evening.
All right. Love you guys. Jahannah,
okay.
I'll talk to you again soon. Gotta end this somehow.